Mr. Right here, we're getting ready for A-Level Maths Film 12, Completing the Square. Let's have a look at some easier and then more difficult examples. X squared plus 6x. Now, with any luck, you're familiar with completing the square already. You'll remember that we need to change this expression into something squared. Now, if I've got the 6x here, then it's going to need to be x plus 3 squared, because that will give me 6x if I expand that bracket. But it will also give me an extra 9, because I'll have the 3 times a 3. So in order to make sure that this first expression is equal to my answer, I'll need to subtract 9, having squared the bracket. Notice that there's a link between the 6 and the 3 here. That's half the coefficient of x. Okay, let's apply the same logic to this question here. Let's have a look. So we've got x squared minus 9x. Right, so we're going to need to write this as something squared. Well, it's going to be x minus 9 over 2, x minus 4.5 squared. That's going to give us the minus 9x, but it's going to give us an extra plus 20 and a quarter plus 4.5 squared. So I'm going to need to subtract the 20 and a quarter in order to make sure that my two lines are equal to each other. So there are a couple of examples there, and each of those have a single x squared. Let's deal with one which has a coefficient on the x squared. In this case, we're going to take this 4 outside a bracket so that I only have to deal with a single x squared. And now this is going to be much more straightforward, because if I just concentrate on that bracket, I can write that as x minus 3 squared, and that will give me the minus 6x, but it also gives me another extra plus 9 in the bracket. So I'm going to need to subtract 9, but be careful, because the extra plus 9 in that bracket is going to be multiplied by 4. So I'm going to need to subtract 9 times 4. So my final answer is that. Okay, and let's look at one more complex example here. Again, I've got a coefficient on the x squared, so I'm going to take the 3 outside the bracket. That leaves me with 2/3 of x, of course. So I'm only dealing with a single x squared. So that's going to give me 3. I'm going to have x plus 1/3 squared, because when I expand that, it'll give me my 2/3 of x, but it also gives me an extra 9th in the bracket. So I'm going to have to remove the 9th, but be careful, because that 9th would be multiplied by 3. So you have to remove a 9th multiplied by 3. So my final answer is going to be 3 lots of x plus 1/3 squared minus a 9th times 3 is minus 1/3, isn't it? Minus 1/3. Okay, so there are some examples of completing the square. And remember, you can find some resources to practice with in the comments. If you'd like more help, then you can leave me a comment here, and you can subscribe on YouTube and follow me on TikTok.